So I've been making a bit of an error in judgment here on this TikTok account. So my name is Tethysaurus Yorkshire, but I've never explained what a Tethysaurus is. But in order to do that, guys, we're going to have to go on a little journey first. I'm going to go through a couple of videos explaining what Mosasaurs are, and then we'll eventually get to my favourite mosasaur and the reason I got my paleontology degrees, Tethysaurus nopska. So, everyone typically is familiar with mosasaurs through this thing right here. It's huge, it's massive, it's bigger than a blue whale. That is the Jurassic World Mosasaurus, a okay interpretation of mosasaurs, but the real things, in my opinion, were much cooler than this thing in the movies. So, what are mosasaurs? Well, mosasaurs are a group of marine reptiles that lived during the age of dinosaurs. They roughly ranged from about 100 million years ago to 66 million years ago, becoming extinct at the same time as the non-avian dinosaurs. However, when we use the term mosasaur, we can actually mean a lot of different things, either the mosasaurids themselves, which are the true mosasaurs, or their relatives. This could also include Aigialosaurs, which were small marine lizard-like animals that are actually closely related, if not the ancestors of the true mosasaurs. These animals range from about 110 to 100 million years ago during the early Cretaceous period, and they actually range from about 2, maybe even 2.5 meters in length, so they're actually quite small compared to their larger relatives. We also had Dolichosaurs, which were snake-like reptilian animals that were about 1 meter in length, and they actually had very tiny front and hind limbs. But from their anatomy, they seem to be able to swim like marine snakes. So it's more than likely that possibly the Aigialosaurs, or maybe something else, actually evolved into the true mosasaurids.
Just give me a second, I'm just making a brew, because this next brew can be very long and it's very exciting.
Oh my, wow. It's like being in the middle of a table at a family dinner, just waiting for everyone to start kicking off. I've Ray Dory next to him, or her, or the whole lot. So yeah, mosasaurs actually were closely related, so far as we know, to modern day snakes and Komodo dragons. So this therefore makes them giant marine Komodo dragon lizard type things, if you like. They really were the true sea dragons of the dinosaur era. Are they ichthyosaurs? You ain't true sea dragon, sunshine. Now, this series of videos is actually going to focus more on the mosasaurids, which are actually my favourite group of mosasaurs. And in order to do that, we have to break down the mosasaurids into their pieces. So first of all, we're going to tackle somewhere up here, I think, somewhere up there, we're going to tackle the Aigialosaurs. So Aigialosaurs are actually known as plesiopedal, plesiopelvic mosasaurs. So what did this mean? So this is what we call an evolutionary grade. It's a sort of a step up in progress for a particular group. But the word progress and grade isn't really well used in paleontology. In fact, it's actually been phased out, sort of. But yeah, plesiopedal, plesiopelvic basically just means these things had land, terrestrial, weight-bearing hands, and they had a pelvis that was built to basically help with supporting their own weight on land. But wait, you're asking. I know you're asking because, well, it's a sensible option, isn't it? What are these things doing with hands and feet for the land and hips that do not lie? It's starting to feel alright, Shakira. Well, we don't actually really know why Aigialosaurs started to venture in the water. It could be absolutely anything. It could be taking opportunity of open niches, so maybe top predators in the ocean actually went extinct, so they sort of moved in to take advantage of the resources. Or it could be competition on land actually forced them into a new environment, so maybe they've been outcompeted by dinosaurs on land. And with this venture, Aigialosaurs started to adapt to the water. They actually started to stiffen up their limbs a bit, their limbs shrank a bit, they actually grew wider hands, and their pelvises, so the hip area, actually started to reduce. So Aigialosaurs can be split into several different species. There is Aigialosaurus. There is also another species called Apetiosaurus, which actually in recent years has been sort of debated. It could be its own genus, Apetiosaurus butchii, or it could actually be another species of Aigialosaurus, Aigialosaurus butchii, because they lived in Croatia around about the same time, but there are still debates of whether they are actually the same animal. There's also this fella that I've been using a lot in this video. Portonatosaurus was actually an Aigialosaur discovered and described in 2019 and was actually quite important for understanding the development of mosasaur limbs and how they shrank and how the hands got wider. There is also, however, a Mexican Aigialosaur called Aigialosaurus. Sorry if I butchered that. I butchered that like I'd butcher a rhino with a spoon. Not very good. And unfortunately, I don't have any good images to actually show you of this fossil, but there is basically the back half of one of these animals that has preserved skin impressions, and it is one of the coolest fossils I have ever seen. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. It's absolutely gorgeous. One Aigialosaur that I actually think is probably the coolest Aigialosaur is actually an Aigialosaur called Carzosaurus. It's found in the same area as Aigialosaurus and Petiosaurus, but one specimen that was found, a female, was found with 3 youngsters still inside its abdomen. And what's even cooler about this animal is that it actually shows evidence of possible live birthing in early mosasaurs. Aigialosaurs were able to give birth to their young in the water. The young were ready to swim. They were ready to conquer the oceans. Unfortunately though, Aigialosaurs seem to have died out about 100 million years ago. So what happened? Well, it actually seems like that they were outcompeted by the new kids on the block, the basal true mosasaurids. And that's what we're going to talk about next time. We're going to talk about the basal mosasaurids. However, Tethysaurus is a basal mosasaurid, but save her for another time. Alright guys, hope you had a good time enjoying this video. Feel free to ask me any questions, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-da.